about war criminal. I had made a complaint about war criminal Kamala Harris's cutout featured in the lobby among famous Black historical figures for Black History Month. I am an advocate for human rights and am especially passionate about Palestinian statehood. So I wrote to our virtual community bulletin board VOA that many Black employees and probably all Muslim employees would be as horrified by her being honored among trailblazers like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman as my nearly 7-year-old's namesake, especially when many of our 1.5 million employees may even have relatives who were murdered by the 2,000-pound Mk-84 bombs she personally provided necessary political cover to supply for the rogue nation of Israel. She was also notorious for discriminating against Black low-level crime offenders as California District Attorney. She lost 2% of the Black vote compared to Biden in 2020. She represents no one. Lies are not subjective nor open to both sides isms. Historians and scholars are unanimous. Harris and her co-conspirators, some of whom are already being brought up on charges at the ICJ for crimes against humanity. Her administration, I worked diligently in my online advocacy to elect, are even guilty of violating U.S. Leahy law supplying weapons despite countless indisputable war crimes. I personally witnessed some 200 children losing limbs, receiving amputations without anesthesia. I witnessed children burning alive attached to IVs as they recover from a previous bombing raid on a civilian population with no weapons. This was a Holocaust. And Kamala Harris belongs in The Hague. Many people came up to me to thank me for my post. And later that day, I was called into a meeting with PXT, our Amazon corporate representatives. I recorded the meeting. They were elusive and didn't pay mention to the fact they had already read my extremely long email to corporate regarding unrelated policy criticisms and suggestions I had for Amazon as well as for Jeff Bezos himself. I had to make reference to several issues raised in that email while in the meeting, so they had ample opportunity to tell me they had read it, which would have saved time. I was surprised when he finally told me he read it. I didn't realize until later why he kept that information hidden. It wasn't actually a meeting about my concerns for discrimination against my fellow employees having to pass a mass murderer as they start their shifts. It was only to interrogate me to determine arbitrary ways to fire me. Ironically, in exactly the same way as in the film Office Space, which we actually spoke about at great length. Matt of PXT agreed that my concerns were valid and certainly not based in any prejudice. Believe me, they tried that avenue as well. Matt volunteered. Perhaps we shouldn't have any recent figures anyway. Craig of Loss Prevention said almost nothing in the meeting, just studying me the entire time, so I wasn't sure about him, but it did seem as though I had struck a chord with Matt and left feeling great. Boasting to my managers after hours. Things are about to change around here. As of 8 days later, that cutout is still there. I complained about it on VOA yesterday once again, and this time I accused them of lying to my face about the premise of the meeting, realizing I was set up for termination. Shortly after, I was called in for another meeting, this time with Joseph, an area manager I didn't know, and sat next to Maria from PXT, who likewise said nothing, only sat studying me the entire interview. Apparently, they hadn't read my most recent VOA posts yet. We started the interview with Joseph asking me to turn off my audio recording. Not without an attorney or union rep present, I replied. He then proceeded to reveal the findings of their internal investigation. In my meeting with Craig and Matt, I elected to show them my pride of workmanship in photos I often save to show my AMs, raising suggestions for improving safety and efficiency, always to their delight. And these photos I showed them were the violation Amazon corporate cited could be used to provide me a final written warning, while avoiding any responsibility. Furthermore, in my email to corporate, I had also elected to disclose that I refused to wear the safety shoes any longer, as like all employees at Amazon, my feet ache constantly, and I, personally, refused to work through the pain any longer. No one had even noticed. I raised the issue to corporate with the understanding it might cost me the privilege as a sign of good faith. However, unsurprisingly, Amazon is a bad faith broker, and Joseph then used my shoes I'd been wearing safely for 2 months as an excuse to escort me out of the building. Kamala Harris isn't the issue here. The problem is Amazon itself. Wage theft is a crime like any other. There's nothing special about their delivery process. Destroying the economy, consolidating all money into the hands of a few people is their mission statement. Cutting people out of the economy is the only reason why they are so successful. Think of how many businesses Amazon has closed, and how many people they've put on the street already. As I wrote in my email to corporate, Amazon even advertised themselves as a form of alternative retirement in their self-produced film, Nomad, in which Frances McDormand lives in the freezing parking lot as a seasonal Amazon hire. We have employees sleeping in their vehicles too. This goes to show the culture of the organization. Salaried employees ignorantly believe they are immune to automation and are quick to stomp out the flame of any staff who might be too noisy about unionization, which I certainly am. Amazon must go. The United States government must investigate this company before we become the United States of Amazon.